Hello everyone, my name is Nobi Sidhu, and these are my teammates Dildeep, Dayanad, and Yasmin. And today we're going to be talking to you about our volunteer opportunity this semester, Bpshi.
Bpshi is a club at California North State which aims to help and serve the underserved communities in the greater Sacramento area. The club's aim is to learn more about the community and the resources it may need in order to help minorities who are impacted. The club is currently working as a community partner to help educate people about medicine. Bipshi's aim is to raise awareness for health and safety precautions by coming up with creative solutions in order to engage the community in public efforts. Bpshi continues to grow and learn more about the greater Sacramento area so that the organization may continue to learn about the community it serves and its needs. Bpshi, in other words, Bhagat Puran Singh Health Initiative, is sustained entirely by our members at our community and from our school. We have about 15 chapters all throughout California at many universities. And we run clinics and develop leadership and hopefully prosper community growth. Now I'd like to discuss who the club was founded under. His name is Bhagat Puran Singh Ji, and he lived in India during the time of 1947 when the British left and the Radcliffe Line was made and split countries apart, created India and Pakistan and some other countries. Bhagat Puran Singh Ji lived a life devoted to serving others. While he was homeless, he begged for money not to nourish himself, but for those who were even less fortunate than he. Starting with nothing, Bhagat Puran Singh cared for an abandoned child named Pyara Singh, who was diagnosed with leprosy. Eventually, he was able to build the largest free healthcare institution in northern India called Pingalwada, which is the home for handicapped and abandoned. We were inspired by Bhagat Puran Singh Ji, and we were a group who wanted to advocate wellness and health in our communities. So Bpshi modeled this we modeled this organization in honor of Bhagat Puran Singh Ji, Bhagat Puran Singh Ji's devotion to humanity and selflessness. We hope to make a mark on the world by striving to live as he did, by using our knowledge, volunteerism, and resources in the name of service. Now, we developed kind of values we would like to follow that we felt that Bhagat Puran Singh Ji followed himself, which are commitment to excellence. Our mission to empower communities through preventative care and educational measures relies on a universal standard of care and a culture of professionalism that we can see is across the chapters. And this allows us to engage respectfully and effectively with communities we serve. Innovation. We strive to break barriers and stigmas in cultivating unique approaches to health issues in our community. Our priorities are innovation and volunteer development, resource development, and clinical service development. Community responsibility. We are committed to developing human-centered solutions. We strive to design services that account for our community's unique systems of food, families, and economies. Humility. We strive to provide service by recognizing the humanity in everyone. We recognize that our efforts to provide service to each other and our communities are constantly improving, driven by a commitment to listening first and fostering an equal exchange of information. And lastly, accessibility. We strive to provide services with equal accessibility to all the communities we serve through the elimination of traditional barriers to healthcare caused by lack of native language resources, cultural sensitive providers, and fear of going to the medical establishment. Our events, meetings, facilities are safe spaces where patients can expect sensitive care when we're working with Seva Clinic at COM that is free of stigma and prejudgment, that is without prejudgment, and inclusive to all backgrounds. Thank you.
So here's some pictures of what our health clinics actually looked like as our when we went to our community service partners. And so here, the picture on the left is the students at COM. They actually have a clinic that we work hand in hand with. They provide more of the testing services, such as testing for blood pressure and blood glucose, and then we provide more of the health education pamphlets. As you can see on the right side, Dildeep is consulting a physician from COM, and Yasmin was helping us organize and passing out also the pamphlets. And in the middle, I'm doing the same thing.
So today I'm going to be talking about cultural competence. So by definition, cultural competence is the integration and information of knowledge about individuals and groups of people and specific standards, policies, practices, attributes, used in appropriate cultural settings to increase the quality of service and to produce a better outcome. So cultural competence is basically a skill set that is developed and evolved over a period of time. It's not something that we just have. It's something that we work on and we grow. Every individual is at a different level of awareness, knowledge, and skill in that cultural competence spectrum. So everybody has room to improve and be more culturally aware. So what's the point of being to have cultural competence? So to understand cultural and people's beliefs is going to help make it easier to connect with people and patients especially, and present your information in a respectful and culturally aware form. Being culturally sensitive is a very important quality to have in the medical field, since patients who are more comfortable with their medical provider are more likely to follow orders and have a better response to the treatments that the doctors provide.
As a member of Bpshi, our number one goal is to bring awareness and education to the Punjabi community during these health fairs. A theory that strongly correlates with our mission would be cultural competence. Through our interactions with this community, we must completely understand what their culture, traditions, and beliefs bring. Me being actually from this community, I can understand the challenges they face on a daily basis as it relates to diet, exercise, and lifestyle. It would be easy to shame or heavily criticize the actions this community takes, but understanding the culture and how it fits into their life is much more important to encourage and educate than to criticize and hate. The normal diet in this community is high in salt and sugar, and many don't understand the effects of these substances due to the lack of education and language barriers. It is our job to comprehend their lifestyle and give them assistance on what they can do to help adjust the way they live and what precautions they could take, because a lot of these immigrants are not given this information in the villages of India. So this is why cultural competence is very crucial in building trust with the community we are serving.
So in terms of the voice of the Punjabi community, primarily the community here in the United States is an immigrant community. However, this is due to the fact that in around the 80s there was a mass genocide that occurred in Punjab, where specifically the Sikh population was targeted and persecuted. Many of the Sikh population that was being persecuted did they attempted to seek political asylum, but however, due to the bureaucratic system, it takes a long time for that to be processed. So they had to come here illegally, leaving behind some of their families. So because of this, once they arrived in the United States, they had to start from scratch. No paperwork, no resources, coming to a completely foreign country, not speaking the language, and they started from from the grassroots. And because of this, the Punjabi community here has a completely sovereign and self-reliant nature to them. Understanding this, we have to adapt the way that we would normally apply healthcare specifically to this community. One of the best ways to understand how to serve your community is to look at things from their perspective. An example of this is one of our most impactful moments that we had at a Bpshi College of Medicine clinic. We conducted this clinic at a rural Sikh temple. One of our many patients that day was a young male who had just arrived from India illegally 2 months ago and had taken on a job as a truck driver. Since he was undocumented, he was forced to work long hours. To cope with this, he started using opiates, which, of course, caused his blood pressure to surge to a very concerning level. We worked alongside with the College of Medicine and their physicians to provide logistical information so that this patient could access confidential and free healthcare in which he would feel comfortable receiving. Unfortunately, this is a very common occurrence in where the Punjabi community is misinformed on healthcare information and does not have access to regular and quality healthcare. Um, this just goes to show how dangerous miseducation and lack of intervention can be. Another common example of this is the prevalence of diabetes in the Punjabi community. This is because our community is not aware of the dangers of regularly consuming high sugar foods. Another way we address the issue of lack of education and available accurate medical information is by working with our partners at UC Davis, their Bpshi chapter. So we're creating awareness of some of the resources that are available to our Punjabi community. One of these resources is the Alaj Clinic, and this is actually where we directed our patient from the encounter I mentioned before. Here's a pamphlet that we created both in English and in Punjabi that informs our patients on how to access emergency medical care and some of the insurance and financial costs that are associated with this.
I'm also going to be discussing what we learned in this experience working with Bpshi. So what I personally learned from this community partner was very eye-opening and informative about how similar everybody is to one another and how we have more similarities than differences. Coming from an Arab Muslim background and working with a Sikh Punjabi community, I could not help but compare the two. And what I found was that culture and environment were super similar, if not identical, to one another. I also took this thought even further and compared it to when I worked in a church in the past, and I was amazed by how all these places are so similar, yet people don't realize how similar they are, and they tend to focus on their differences. Another big lesson that I gained from this experience is how we have to put in effort in understanding people's culture and beliefs, to be able to speak to them in a way that is respectful and in a way that both of you and that individual would be on the same page, and there won't be any misunderstanding or misconception. That's a very important skill that I believe we all should have and we all should strive for especially as future professional health providers, because if we can't talk to our patients and we can't understand where our patients are coming from, how are we going to treat